I have also, I don't remember exactly where, read a quotation by Karl Marx when he observed, I think, the Act of 1853 only.
Yeah, he wrote about that. Yes.
That the Parliament may think that they can get control of the company this way, but the India House is a gigantic machine of writers, and only they know what is happening in India. And if they don't give the proper information to the Parliament, it cannot exercise the control properly.
Yeah,
So
actually, that's very, no, that's correct. Actually, Marx is very perceptive about the actual relationship between the government and the East India Company. And many of Marx's early articles on India are actually written against the backdrop of the 1853 Charter Act. When he was looking very closely at a lot of because there were lots of critics of the company also who were writing in newspapers, who were putting out a lot of material in the public domain, which would be which would be critical of the company. So one point which he makes is in one of his articles about the East India Company in 53 is that the company, the company, I think we should remember, one of the ways in which it exercised control over the Indian Empire from this long distance is by having access to all that documentation relating to the Indian Empire. So even minor issues, any document that was created copies would have to be sent to England. So ultimately, a huge correspondence would be sent from India to England. And the responses again are huge, because every matter, is it sanctioned, is even a small sort of increase in an allowance would have to be ultimately sanctioned by the company's directors. So all this was coming back also. So that's that huge correspondence that's taking place. But when this correspondence comes to England, it has to be sorted out. It has to be classified. I mean, two important, very well-known figures who were associated with that establishment, which sorted out all the correspondence, this huge correspondence, was James Mill and subsequently his son John Stuart Mill. They were employed in the examiner's office, the examiner of correspondence. Examiner of correspondence office had to actually, when all this correspondence came, they would sort it out, classify, send it out to the relevant departments. Then those relevant departments would then sort of see what required an immediate answer, what could be delayed. They would then prepare background notes. The way जैसे आज भी कहते हैं ना, फाइल पुटअप करना. सो फाइल पुटअप करने की शुरुआत तो एग्जामिनर ऑफिस में होती थी. So they would have all the background information, what had happened earlier. So the company was the repository of all the sort of archival material relating to colonial rule in India. And the board of control or the president of the board of control didn't have any separate establishment. They were totally dependent on them. That's what Marx was saying, that ultimately they would have to provide all the background information, this information, and what needed to be done. They would suggest what are the options, and then it would go to the directors. The directors would then communicate to the board of control. So the role of the company's clerical establishment, actually, because it was the main repository,
and gatekeeper also.
And the gatekeeper also. कौन सा document दिखाना है, कौन सा नहीं दिखाना है.
True. आपने आई थिंक फर्स्ट चैप्टर में यहाँ पे ये भी लिखा है कि दिस ट्रेडिशन ऑफ राइटिंग डाउन एवरीथिंग which can be used to control from far away distance did not start that time. ये शुरू से ही था, from the first voyage itself.
You're right, because you can actually see how from the initial voyages they are constantly. So how do you exercise control over long distance, particularly at a time when communications are limited, and it's a very improper understanding, क्योंकि वो बहुत दूर थे, इसलिए वो अपने आप डिसीजन ले लेते थे.
Men on the spot वाली जो.
The men on the spot took the decision. Yes, in certain situations they did. Clive did take a decision,
Sub-imperialism.
But everything he did had to have sanction. And there were disputes over that later on. So this was something that the company had already perfected right from its early voyages. So they are writing, and that's, I've quoted that passage where they are saying that everything that is you observe, that happens on the page, what information you collect, must be put down in writing. And what one person has missed out on, the other will supply. So they are telling everybody, sab alert raho. You must, all of you, be alert. What is left out, you must provide. If somebody has forgotten something, somebody has missed out on something, or somebody is trying to suppress something, it is your responsibility that it should be put down in these books. So that also became a huge archive